What is up everybody, welcome back to the channel, and in this video I did want to go over a topic I have been thinking about a lot recently, especially playing Need for Speed Unbound for a good amount of time now ever since playing this game a few days early. That's going to be the fact of I would say Need for Speed Unbound had a really good launch, at least compared to some of the games we have seen previously. For example, Modern Warfare 2 did release I guess kind of bug free for the most part, even though that game was crashing tremendously on every platform. Then obviously you're missing things like the combat record and stuff like that. So I would say game launches nowadays are probably going to be a pretty hot topic because normally they're not releasing correctly and or not releasing how they really should be. Now, I would say Need for Speed Unbound is going to be pretty dang solid, especially due to the fact that I know the devs did not apparently work on the game. They were working on 2042 back in the day, and that game was honestly, well, to put it quite frankly, I would say a dumpster fire when it came out, but I would say the game is going to be a little bit better now, obviously, after all the updates they have been putting into it, which I do give the developers credit. Instead of abandoning the game, at least they're still trying to make the game right. I have to give them credit on that. But even then, I would say after all that, Need for Speed Unbound really is going to be insanely solid. I'm sure a lot of players might be wondering, should I pick up Need for Speed? Like, is the game good? To be honest, guys, I am madly enjoying the game so far, and I have been seeing a lot of positive feedback online with it as well. Sure, there's some visual glitches here and there, which I would say every game has, but even playing Need for Speed Unbound for a good amount of time now and not really experiencing any bugs whatsoever, I would say one of the only things I've probably seen on the game is my rims glitching out on my car, which was happening a little bit. But even then, guys, it's really like the little things. So like, for example, as I did mention, grabbing collectibles or driving different cars and doing like races and stuff. All that stuff seems to be running perfectly, which is definitely really nice to see. Unlike something like Modern Warfare 2 that would crash about 3 to 4 times after an update, which I think would probably frustrate basically anybody, especially after the game's supposed to be getting fixed after an update and or a hotfix. For example, guys, this did bring me into another game that was definitely kind of depressing to watch this game launch. That's going to be Dakar Desert Rally. Now, despite some of the flaws, I do have to admit, the game does have a good foundation, but my goodness, I really do think it probably could have went like another 6 months or so. For example, that save data issue was basically lasting on the game for over a month. Even after all the hot fixes and the updates they were putting out, I noticed on Xbox a lot of players were saying they were still having issues with it. It's kind of sad to see some of the AAA titles releasing nowadays with so many issues and or are unfinished. I really do think it's definitely pretty depressing to see that because I feel like a lot of games nowadays might feel rushed and or like they're lacking content in a way and they're lacking things to do. That's definitely pretty frustrating because a lot of the games are obviously costing more money now, and I feel like a lot of people are like, why would I even bother getting something if it's not going to release or end up maybe not liking that game or something, and then those developers come back and make a new game and they're like, why would I buy this one after you guys couldn't even fix the other one? I would say that's definitely going to be a big issue and probably making a lot of people scratch their heads though. I would say a lot of this most likely will end up coming up to the point of the games needing a lot more time, and unfortunately the publishers and or all that good stuff might be pushing them out to get them sold. Meanwhile, the games really aren't in a good state to actually be sold. Maybe they weren't bug tested and stuff, which I would say is another big issue, by the way. I really do wonder some of the things on the games like Dakar and or Modern Warfare 2. It makes you wonder if they actually played the game before they released it, because some of the bugs and stuff, you're like, bruh, like, why can't I complete this race because something glitches out every time I try to do it, or something going on with one of the weapons in the game, something like that, for example. And I would say many games are struggling with issues on launch now, which is definitely pretty unfortunate. I would even go as far as saying, guys, that Need for Speed Unbound is basically on par with Elden Ring. I know that might sound kind of insane, but this game really is insanely solid for what it is. I really haven't encountered that many issues at all, and if not anything besides that like weird rim glitch, which is kind of just a visual thing. It's not really affecting the gameplay in any way. The cops are insanely fun to mess with, and I haven't seen any issues with that, like not being able to lose them or like a glitched out heli. So it's definitely really nice to see a game release as good as Need for Speed Unbound is, especially after coming off something like Dakar Desert Rally, which didn't get its first update for like 2 weeks after release, which honestly wouldn't be that big of a deal if the game was actually running really good, but that thing was riddled with bugs and all kinds of issues, and I feel like they were struggling to get some of that fixed, which is understandable. As I did mention before, I'm sure doing some of the coding stuff is not an easy thing to do, but I do want to mention, guys, if you were on the fence about getting Need for Speed Unbound, I would highly recommend taking a look at this game. I've been enjoying this, as I did say before, and my goodness, it is a lot of fun. And what's kind of funny, by the way, guys, is this is also coming from somebody who did play Need for Speed Payback on release. That game was pretty decent, but my goodness, some of the stuff in that game was making me go, what in the world is going on? It kind of made me wonder if Need for Speed is ever going to be good again, but after playing Unbound, I would definitely say this game is going in the right direction, and or this franchise in general. I would again highly recommend trying out Unbound if you guys might have been on the fence about it. And when taking a look at something like game releases now, I would say this game is again going to be on par with like God of War and or Elden Ring. Definitely not like Modern Warfare 2 and or something like even Dakar Desert Rally. I feel like those games definitely did not release the greatest. Hopefully they will get on the right path and or get the right stuff out for them over time. Sometimes though, games like for example Battlefield 2042, my goodness, I know everyone knows that game was an absolute dumpster fire when it released, and now it's doing a lot better, which seeing games get better over time is definitely going to be really nice to see. But I would say one of the biggest issues is the fact that will the players come back? Similar to how Battlefield 4 launched really bad and now the game is obviously still incredible, even though it came out a really long time ago, then we also have something like some of the older games releasing with issues, and now they're a lot better now. But the thing is, can they still get players on them, and or do people actually want to go back and play them? I would say that's probably going to be one of the biggest issues, but I do want to know what you guys think about this in the comments below, because I think everybody can agree some of the game launches recently, and like the recent years for that matter, have definitely made a lot of players wonder if buying some of these games is even worth it, because seeing how some of the other games have came out, it really does make you wonder if they're actually worth getting. But again, guys, let me know your thoughts about game launches in general in the comments below. And again, I would say Need for Speed Unbound is definitely going to be up there with some of the better games we have seen. Despite this game getting pushed back because of Battlefield 2042, I was insanely happy to see this game release as good as it did, and I really do hope future games are going to follow.